This is a schematic of your typical oncology center with radiotherapy and chemotherapy services. And traditionally in radiotherapy, if the radiation therapist delivering the treatment had a problem, they'd have to page the oncologist. The oncologist would have to walk across the center. They'd have to check the patient. And that's just a big waste of time. So why not have an information management system that can distribute real-time the information that's being captured at the linear accelerator and distribute it to the oncologist where they are. I want to go back to just one interesting side note to the world of radiation oncology. Unlike radiology, where the industry has sort of self-regulated itself to standards, DICOM, so you don't really worry a tremendous amount when you're about to buy a new MR machine or a new cath lab, whether it's going to communicate with your radiology information system or whether you worry about it communicating with your PACS. That's not the case in radiotherapy, though they've started to try to drive towards IHE and standards. Those devices, those linear accelerators that deliver radiotherapy right now do not share a standard on how they communicate with information management systems. So an oncology information management system does have to then adopt and adapt to the way those different devices want to communicate with our information management system. So it's no easy task to keep abreast of all the different interfaces these manufacturers will come up with. You also, in a number of cancer networks, are now starting to, deliver care in a hub and spoke mechanism. So you'll have perhaps a large university hospital that will have your linear accelerators, will have the large hematology, oncology, infusion suites, but that your consultants are traveling to smaller community hospitals in the cancer network to actually attend multidisciplinary clinics with the surgeons and perhaps oncologists in those smaller regions. So you need to have an information management system that can distribute easily the information to those remote locations. I was up in Leeds not so long ago, and they tell the tale of their oncologists every morning loading up the boot of their car with all the cancer charts for the patients that they were going to see down the road not too long ago. Whereas today, with their information management system, the oncologist who's somewhere in the deep, dark heart of Yorkshire can pull up that patient oncology record and consult it while they have the patient in front of them. So your oncology information management system needs to be a distributed information management system. So paperless and filmless, again, we talk about the need for a paper chart. As I said, in oncology, we deal with a lot of diagnostic and images that are even derived from within the oncology clinic. We used to think about a paper chart and a film jacket as two very separate things in oncology, and they could each independently get lost at any one time. You want to have your information management system coordinated and consolidate that information. So we now have all the information, all the information contained within one record. Can we just go back one stage? Yeah. But we also need to think about the long-term archiving of these images, particularly the images that were generated within the radiation oncology clinic. These are images that are on the size of terabytes for some patients. And some nations will mandate that you need to archive and store these images for up to 30 years. So you do have to have, although a radiology information system does have the abilities to store these images, they don't necessarily have the ability to manage the specific elements in DICOM that are used in radiotherapy. Radiotherapy has a subset of the DICOM standard called DICOM RT that is sometimes managed by a radiology information system, sometimes not. And certainly, if you're going to have to store something for 30 years and have to be able to retrieve it if the patient ever recurred for treatment, you do need to have an information management system that, again, is made for that need. And I said, if you're buying an information management system for your oncology department, it'd be lovely if you were always starting in a greenfield site and you could start with new equipment and new information management systems, but that's not the case either. In many oncology centers, and particularly, again, in radiation oncology, they have more or less some part of that spoke already in place. Radiation oncology were one of the first disciplines to actually use some element of IT technology to verify the actual treatment that was being delivered to the patient. So your oncology information management system, they may already have an element, and we need to be able to adapt and plug into the systems that they already have. We also need to be able to adapt and plug into the linear accelerators that an oncology center may have. An oncology center generally will replace their accelerators maybe once every 10 years. So if a trust has just bought an accelerator that has cost them £1 million, you're not going to go and ask them to replace that accelerator just for the sake of communicating with your oncology information management system. So you need to be able to not only support future technologies, but be able to reverse the compatibility as well into what their legacy equipment is. And then finally, where you also can find efficiencies is giving the tools for better data visualization and aggregation. So there were comments made about the quality of data in a couple of the talks this morning. And we feel that in oncology, you need to give data managers and the people that are worried about informatics the tools to actually visualize the quality of the data in their oncology information management system. And so there are technologies that are evolving that give data managers dashboard views of the information in the medical record. So not only can you go and then encourage your clinical staff to clean up the clinical data, it also allows you to put your arms around the data in a real-time manner and start really interacting with the data to make some real-time decisions about how you're going to manage your patient. And I do think that as an industry, up until very recently, we have not been very good at we've been encouraging clinicians as hard as we can to start putting information in, but as an industry, we have not been very good at providing the data managers and the clinicians a feedback of the information that they've been so diligently putting in. And this is my final slide, and then I'll let everybody go and have a cup of coffee. We also are of the opinion that it's not just a matter of deploying a new information management system in your service, that you also need to come arm in arm with a consultancy division that will help drive the practice and the procedures in a service to match the abilities of the applications and your organizational drivers. What I mean by this is every trust right now in oncology service have well-established practices and procedures based on the existing information systems you have, based on hospital policy, and based on a paper-based record. And they probably work very well, and everybody adheres to those practices, and they were all evolved based on what you had today. When you come along with a new information management system, those practices and procedures may be redundant, irrelevant, or just not workable with the abilities of the application that you chose. So it is important that you come through with a new information management system and readdress your procedures and your policies to match the abilities of the application and also perhaps new mandates that are coming down the pipeline. So why not optimize the application to meet those mandates at the same time? So that's the view from the industry, perhaps, of an information management system for a particular workspace, and our workspace would be oncology. Are there any questions? Eager for coffee. Okay, well, thank you very much, and we'll be here if you have any questions.